Welcome to the BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me as always is my Bumble co-host, Kyle, JCRB Kraus.
Hello again. We're back on a Wednesday. We're feeling good on a Wednesday. And we got another special guest joining us on this episode.
We do. We have... Wait. Ian? You're comparing yourself to me? Ha! You're not even good enough to be my waffles.
I'll make you eat those words. I had to make sure it was authentic.
Yes, you did. And you did it perfectly. Welcome to the show, IanWaffles.
Thank you guys for having me. That's great. I literally 4 weeks, I've had it in my brain that when I introduce myself, I'll be like, well, Mr. Flynn, it's nice to meet you, faker. And then you would say that line, but you literally just started before me. You got me. Maybe you are the real one.
I should have let you do the intro. I should have let you start it off. That would have had the whole thing.
It all worked out. It's like the two Spider-Mans pointing at each other.
We legitimately had the same thought, and I'm so happy.
It just shows that all Ians suffer from the same mental deficiencies. It's all good.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yes, exactly.
It's Ian Flynn's more delicious counterpart, IanWaffles.
Hey!
Funny story, I actually know another Ian that I used to do roleplay stuff with, and we were both big Sonic the Hedgehog fans.
So you've done this song and dance before.
I have. I call him Faker all the time, too.
It seems to be a very common thing, I guess.
Oh, good.
We were also both dating women named Lee at the same time. It was weird.
Whoa. That is weird.
I won't get too personal with you, Ian, but I'm just going to assume.
Okay, cool. we have the same backstory. One of us lived in a pod during all of it, but who knows? So, all right, guys. So, hey, how you guys doing today?
Good.
We're doing good.
I've been great. The pre-show was fun, and I'm ready to go. So, if you guys have any questions for me, real quick, you can do that. And then, otherwise, I've got my whole little list here in case in case we have nothing to talk about immediately.
Well, I mean, you're our patron guest for the episode. If there's anything you want to tell the folks at home about yourself, as much as you're comfortable with, now's your time.
Yeah, of course. So, my name is IanWaffles. I have a YouTube channel by the same name. Basically, I just talk about anime characters, not really talking about like broad overarching story stuff, just certain characters that I really like and feel wanted to just give a little love in video form. And so I've talked about My Hero Academia, I've talked about Love Chunibyo and Other Delusions, and I've talked about K-On! So if any of that interests you, you can check out my channel and, love to have you leave a comment. But other than that, as far as getting into the Sonic comic, because obviously that's kind of like the main appeal of the show, it was back in, I know the year, it was back in 2010. I was just when whatever grocery store I happened to be at the time. And I was a big fan of Sonic Sat AM. I had got the little DVD and watched it with my siblings and stuff. And of course, on that DVD, you have all the special features that talk about, the downfall of Season 3, how it never came to be, who were the Red Eyes, oh, was it Metal Sonic? Oh, it was just Ixis Nagas. But, child-crushing dreams and such. But so when I went to the store, I saw this really weird little book that had Sonic fighting a monkey on it. And I was like, what the heck is this? So I open it up, and to my shock, Sally's alive? Antoine? Mighty the Armadillo? They're talking to each other? Who's this monkey guy? Snively? Eggman's in a straitjacket? What? But my child brain was blown. And so, basically, I was just so happy to see these characters that I had already loved and kind of had a connection to due to watching it with my siblings, to see that their stories had continued all this time, and I was not awares. And so, that just definitely got me into the books immediately, and I started collecting from there. And there was several years where I kind of got in and out of it, but once the main Archie book sadly ended in 2017, I dug up the old issues from under my bed and I was going through them and I was like, these are really creative. Like, these are really ambitious and cool and just like, weird, but you could tell that they had a lot of sincerity to them. And so I've started collecting them, and yeah, it's become it's my favorite story to have Sonic in. It's my favorite interpretation of Sonic is the one you worked on, Ian, in the pre-reboot Archie days, your little run from 160 to whenever the reboot happened. That's my favorite interpretation of Sonic. So real quick, just want to say thank you for writing him.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed.
Yeah. So yeah, as far as that, that's pretty much my evil backstory. Hope it satisfies. So,
I mean, of all the jump on issues, just wow, that's a weird one.
yeah.
Like I usually hear, I came on about Reboot, I came on around 160, or I came on during the beginning of an arc. I feel really bad for those who jumped on during Darkest Storm, because that was like the most continuity dense story to ever grace the pages of Western literature. But
Yeah.
to come in like at the beginning of Iron Dominion, that's just a really oddball one. No wonder you were like, what is going on? It's like, that's like a fever dream.
Well, and especially with like Stephen Butler's designs, where they're kind of more human shaped.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like, so my brain is just can't process seeing these like cheapy, versions that I remember from Sat AM, and just seeing them like, it's like they are adults now. What happened? But yeah, no, it was, but I don't regret it. I think it was a great entry point. The only problem with that book is that it is horrible as a physical issue, because it has those stupid like 3D glasses for the Star Wars Clone Wars series that are like these little cardboard sticks in it. And so I was trying to figure out how to rip them out, and I never could. So it's just, every time you pick it up, it just opens you to like page 6, and it's like, hey, go watch the Clone Wars. I'm like, no, stop.
That was a weird time for comic advertising, I guess. I don't know. Comic advertising's always been kind of weird.
It's always been. I mean, they especially with how comics are, treated as these valuable things you're supposed to preserve, and how to preserve them for collectors and stuff. It's just always funny to me that they actively tell you, use scissors to chop us to pieces and ship us away for more. It's like, no, please.
Well, that's part of the reason why early Sonic books, if you have them in good condition or even great condition, are so valuable, is because they encourage you to deface them. Here's the maze, or here's the word find, or
here's the bumper sticker for your mom.
Yeah. So it's like, we are encouraging you to deface these, because nobody thought they'd be held. They didn't think it was going to last 20 issues, let alone 250. These things are going to be tossed in the trash by the children who read them like twice and don't care about it. And yet
they endure.
Yeah. I always remember the thing I always remember, like I always know it's a Sonic book looking at the back, because it has the Twizzlers ad.
Yes, there's so many of those.
Which was very creepy. When you're a kid and looking at that, like, that is weird and I don't like it.
Now, so something I've always wondered as far as coming onto the book, Ian, is that, so when you came in, obviously, you were given like this whole world of just like crazy continuity, so many characters and all these things. And like, what I really enjoyed about the Iron Dominion saga, and why it's still my favorite kind of story, is because I always loved the idea of like, it's like, this is what you had, this is what you were dealt. And so you were just like, all right, we either kill it like Tommy Turtle, or we attempt to make something out of it. And so how, like, obviously you have to go through the writing process and you get really used to like the stories you're coming up with. But was it always kind of really fun to know that like at any moment, if you needed a character or a concept or just like a weird idea, you could kind of try to weave these threads together to make everything work? Like you're some puppet master for the bunch of kids who threw away their toys. What was that for for you to have all this these options?
I came into it very humbled.
Okay.
I was a fan of the book since the early number 30s. I read this religiously. I was a huge fan of the series and all its twists and turns and oddities. Mm-hmm. And there was always these moments of, well, why did this character do this? That doesn't make any sense. Or that thing was really cool. Why did they not follow up on it? Or this plot thread has been dangling for years. Can we do something with it? And so when I was brought on board, I was on hallowed ground. This was, I was the new kid on the block. And now I'm given the opportunity, the permission even, to do what I want with these things. And a lot of my early years were me working with the editor saying, may I do this, please, sir? Am I allowed to reference this or change this character or resolve this issue? And Mike was very patient and encouraging, saying, yeah, go for it. As a matter of fact, if I recall correctly, when the big shuffle happened and there was a big change in the creative team, there had been pressure from on high just to straight up reboot the book, to just toss it all out and start over. And that was one of the things that was offered to me. Just, do you want to go start from scratch? And I said, no, 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 no. I grew up reading this. I love these characters. I love this zany world. I want to build upon it. Fix what is broken, iron out some of the wrinkles, bring it a little closer to home so that your regular Sonic fan can understand some of this, but still have crazy stuff like you're talking monkey and why is Mighty talking to the cartoon character, So
yeah,
I really wanted to take this series that I grew up and loved and just see it through. I never really saw it as, this is my era, this is my direction. It was, I get to continue things. I'm part of the ride, and the ride never ends. So that was my take on it all.
Okay, well that's really cool. And by the way, when you mentioned them giving you that option, was that an early on thing, or are you talking about like during the Genesis Wave stuff?
Oh, this was at the very start.
Oh, at the very start, they just told you like, "Hey, we can reboot this if you don't want a deal."
Yeah, and I was like, no, 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 no. Number one, because I didn't want to.
Yeah,
that I want to play with that playground, and number two, I knew that even then, in my youth and my naivete, that the fandom would come with me with torches and pitchforks. Here's this new writer guy, and he just threw out, 10 years of continuity at that point?
You live in infamy for very different reasons.
I mean, ultimately we had to do it anyway, but at least by that point, it was pretty clear it wasn't my choice.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, so did you have anything else to say on that, or could I go on to something else?
Go, please, continue.
Yeah. So one of the things that was pretty much my favorite part of the book was obviously Sonic's characterization. And something that I noticed, and obviously comics are made, so far out, it's not like a manga where it's week to week and one guy, it goes through so many different hands, like the artist and all these things. But what I really liked about Sonic's characterization, and it seemed like you and Tracy Yardley, and a lot of the artists kind of picked up on this, is like Sonic's attitude and his ego is really like kind of aggressive in the pre-reboot days, even when you're on the book. And what I always enjoyed about that is, I don't know if it was because you were interested in examining these aspects of his character, if they were just something that kind of came about from just writing the story, or if it was just because of the hand you were dealt. But things like the House of Cards story, where it kind of examines Sonic literally saying like he, oh, Tails will get over it, he worships me, like this idea of like Sonic thinking he knows what's best, or how like he's the type of person who, whenever his pride is just kind of destroyed by Eggman, he'll lash out at his friends, and then when he jumps into action again, he kind of gets into hero mode, and he kind of has this face about him where sometimes he'll jump into hero mode, and then sometimes he'll just break character and just get super aggressive and toss Scourge in the mud and yell at him or something. And I always really enjoyed that because it made his like, not dissent or anything, he wasn't going to turn into a villain, but the part of his life with the Mecha Sally saga, where he really does start to like really embrace that side of him, that aggressive side, especially in the Babylon Rogues arc, which I know you didn't write, Tracy Yardley wrote that, but you have such great lines as, if they're not okay, you'd better hope you can run faster than me, or like him trying to, him threatening them, saying he would clip their wings so that they couldn't escape a falling building. I'm sure he intended that they would be knocked out, like, like stuff like that. And it was just always really cool that Sonic had this depth to him. So I just wanted to know, was that something that you kind of picked up on? Was that something you came up with? Or is it just, that's just kind of how it happened, and hey, if I can make that connection, good for me?
I think it was kind of inherited, because the pre-reboot Sonic was a continuation of Sad AM Sonic and early 90s cool guy. You compare that mentality of what is the rebel and the anti-establishment type to what's counted as, cool and aloof today, and they're worlds apart. And there was a degree of immaturity and fragile ego in Sonic that kind of grew from that.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I just think, kind of comes with the territory. And part of it, too, is that the pre-reboot Sonic at that point had been through a lot of emotional baggage. So he was kind of a damaged individual. A lot of them were, considering all the crap they went through. And when we got to stuff like the Battle on Rogues arc, like you mentioned, and he was at his lowest point, it was intentional with me and Tracy to show him, vulnerable and sniping at people in ways that he wouldn't normally, to just show just how much of a strain he was under. Yeah. And the ultimate goal was to, win the day and get him back to form.
Mm-hmm.
We just never,
never were able to get there. Yeah.
So but
that was intentional. Okay.
Yeah. And then when we had stuff like post reboot and especially IDW Sonic, it's like, well, we don't have that baggage anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And Sonic has changed significantly since his 90s Western incarnation. So now we can do something that's a little less aggressive or hyper competitive.
Yeah, he's kinder.
Yeah. And even then, finding the right balance of what is Sonic in the modern age has been a bit of a balancing act. Because you compare, I don't know, Sonic Forces to Sonic Freeriders, where he's just like disgustingly squeaky clean and good-natured. It's just like,
no edge.
Yeah, not at all. He is a sphere. All the edges have been rounded off. I think he works better as kind of like a Bugs Bunny type, someone who is a bit sarcastic and a bit quippy and has a little bit of bite to him, but is ultimately a good person.
He'll take Bunny Rabbit's hand and walk into the sunset and be a good friend, Like, that's one of my favorite moments with him. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, that's just something that I've always been interested in, to see, like, how much of that was intentional, and I'm super glad to kind of hear that, yeah, it was, because one day, I guess, spoilers for the future of my life, I intend to make a little analysis video on pre-boot Archie Sonic, because I just think he's so interesting and compelling, and I just don't want him to be lost to time,
Yeah.
Because he's really interesting. Do you have any favorite, like, pre-reboot character? Or, like, did you have any characters who, when you came onto the book, maybe that you were really excited to get to have hands on that were an original character?
Oh, wow. Kind of just in general, I wanted to play with that cast and take them in certain directions, because it felt like a lot of the extended cast was introduced for their storyline and then forgotten. There was never really any usage for them beyond their initial introduction. Or in a few cases, they were kind of like the pet character, and they showed up and it's like, why are you here? What are you contributing to the story? Go away.
Right.
And then it just kind of became a thing of, I like this character, nobody else does. Let me make them likable. Like the Fearsome Foursome, specifically. Or Destructix. Okay. Like Simian, Lightning, Flying, Predator, they were nobodies. Like quite literally nobody. But they were introduced as a kind of anti-chaotix, or a counterpart to the chaotix. And I was huge into the chaotix. They were my favorites. So it's like, why aren't we doing more with the cool evil chaotix? And it took us a really long time to find the time and the space and the excuse to get into them with the Scourge arc. I really wish we would have done that sooner, but we did it. And folks kind of turned around and went, all right, they ain't bad now. I would not be opposed to seeing them do something. Yeah. So, of course, that's when the book ends. But Mogul, I love my huge, eloquent monster types.
Oh, yeah.
He's supposed to be an uber baddie, but his power level was all over the place. Mm-hmm. And within the rules set by the universe, he should have been just nigh unstoppable, even at his lowest. So I wanted to keep him around, but you also have to kind of clip his wings, to use that earlier turn of phrase, Because otherwise, there's no story. He just wins, or he's an idiot.
Or he gets godlike powers and gets taken down in a second. You're like, why should I be afraid of this guy?
yeah. So, part of it too is it's been so long since I've even had to think about it. It's kind of hard to say, but I don't know. It was a lot of, I grew up reading this. I really want to see something come of these stories, so let's do it. Let's just do.
Yeah.
Or in the case of Iron Dominion, where you came on, that pitch was a joke.
Yeah.
That was I had a few ideas in the pitch package of what I wanted to do, and that was thrown in there as the gimme. The one the editor's going to say, "What are you thinking?" No. Clearly it's only these choices, except he liked that one.
And you're like, oh no, but oh yes.
Okay, now I have given you this turd, now I have to polish it. What do?
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, no, but I think that's what just makes it fun. It's why I was talking to Kyle about this. It's why my next video is going to be about Kingdom Hearts, which is a series that also is just a grab bag of all these different elements, and I feel like the best parts of the series are when they're just like, and this is why it makes sense that Donald Duck is friends with Cloud Strife. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. That is pretty cool. But hey, Kyle, did you have any characters that you really enjoyed from the book?
Oh, geez. There's so many. I mean, Nicole was always kind of a draw for me when she became more of an actual character rather than just a handheld computer.
Gotcha.
She was neat, there's the thing about Archie Sonic is that there are so many characters, like I can't even remember them all, I don't think.
I was always a fan of Mina. I don't know if you ever liked her.
Mina was interesting. The thing is, when I got into the comic, I got in way, way back, like in the early to mid single digits.
Oh, okay.
So my friend in second grade introduced me to the Sonic comics. So I was pretty much there from, I remember reading like issues 6 and 9 and a few other random smatterings. But then from issue 13 until about the mid 60s, I was on board. And then,
gotcha.
Then I dropped off. My subscription expired, and I just ended up never asking my mom to renew it, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, let me think. About a few years later, they were up to around 110, 115-ish, I want to say. And that's when Mina was in there. And I remember like opening up the book, and Mina was this big character, and I had no clue who she was because I had completely missed 60-something issues.
Who are you?
Like, who is this? Why does Sonic have yet another love interest? Like, how many? What kind of polygon is this now?
Did Sally die again?
How many sides is this on? No. Sally was there. Amy was there. She looked more like she did in Sonic Adventure, and I'm like, okay, that's cool.
And then you found out why, and you're like, oh, that's a thing.
That's weird. Yeah. That was weird. Yeah, I don't know. It's just been like it's been an interesting time in the history of Sonic, where I'm like, yeah, characters. There's so many characters, and so many of them have come and gone. That it's been like, man, who did I like?
Who was real and who was a fever dream?
Yeah, it kind of was like that.
Because a lot of them were fever dream-esque.
a lot of that. Yeah, especially ones where they're like the ones that were introduced very early on in the series and then came back later, like Al and Cal. It was like, what?
Yeah. Flynn found their graves and brought them back.
So weird. So weird. There's so much stuff. I'm like, what in the heck is going on in this freaking comic? And then Ian came on and started killing off everyone. It's like, oh, okay.
And you were like, the purge has begun.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah,
now I can finally pay attention.
Get rid of some of these weirdos and make some new weirdos instead. But I mean, still,
you're right.
There's so many characters though. I don't know. I did dig fleshing out Nicole and making her into an actual real character.
Yeah,
and giving her more stuff to do. As far as like other original comics characters, I don't know. I've always found Conquering Storm to be a really fascinating character too. But I mean, I've talked about this before, so.
Okay. Yeah. No, of course. Well, cool. But thanks for answering, both of you. That's pretty much all I got for the comic stuff. I just kind of wanted to go over the Sonic and kind of just pre-reboot characters and kind of just chat about it. Just because it's just fun to discuss that kind of stuff with you guys. Hey, real quick, the Sonic Symphony happened. That was pretty cool. What'd you think of it? I would assume you thought it was pretty cool.
I liked it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was very, very cool.
It's an excellent presentation when they play Green Hill yet again, and I don't kind of go, ugh. It's like, that's lovely. Oh, wait, it's Green Hill again. But it's okay.
But it's okay. I'm okay. Yeah, I definitely loved that they just gave so much love to a lot of the different things that, are kind of more niche, like Sonic and the Black Knight. Like, I love Night of the Wind. That's my favorite Crush 40 song. Or just the fact that they did anything with Sonic R. Like that, I was just like, oh man, I was spoken to. I was sung to. I was serenaded. And the greatest, most cringiest, most Shadow the Hedgehog thing happened to me, where everyone at my work had they left early, and so whenever Crush 40, what's his name, the guy who sings for them,
Johnny Gioeli, yeah.
Yeah. Whenever he came out and he was like, for this next one, for Live and Learn, I want you all to sing it. I looked around and I was like, it's my time. And I sang and I sang out in an empty warehouse, Live and Learn, to a symphony. And it was at least in the top 2 moments of my life. But no, I felt very much like a Sonic fan. It was great. It was. Yeah,
thank
go ahead.
you for waiting, Johnny. Now I can sing with you.
Yes,
I'm back. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say the symphony section, I just had like chills running the whole time. I was like, man, this is freaking amazing. Just being able to witness this and the fact that this is happening. And they got such a world-class orchestra to play these silly blue hedgehog, cartoon hedgehog songs. It's like, yes, thank you. Thank you, everybody who made this happen. This is fantastic. So...
It took like so long too.
Yeah, the Game Gear medley was a highlight for me, along with the Saturn medley, because I'm with you on bringing out some of the more obscure stuff, some of the things that people are like, "What the heck? What is this?" And I'm like, "Yes, I love all that stuff." And sneaking a little bit of Knights into a Sonic show was really neat. So.
Poor Knights. Can't catch a break. No. Sonic stole it again.
I know. Still, at least it's something. It's something.
Oh, yeah. It was great. It was just very funny.
Yeah.
What'd you think, Ian?
I loved it. We actually covered this on the previous BumbleKast, but...
Oh, okay.
Like, when I was little, I was thinking about how the original Eggman battle theme would just sound so wonderful if it was orchestrated. Mm-hmm. And son of a gun, they did it just about exactly as I envisioned it in my head. And it's like, all right, I'm vindicated. I was right. It's exquisite.
So many songs work that way, though. And it seems like boss themes especially work quite well in a symphonic format. Like, when you got... Big Arms from Sonic 3 and Knuckles would also fits that mold. And also the Death Egg Robot theme from Sonic 2. And it's... I don't know, there's just something about that big bombastic sound that the symphony really works for those themes in particular.
Well, and it's the sincerity of it is what I like the most. Like there wasn't any memes or gags. It was just like, hey, you love Sonic, we love Sonic. Like we know that '06 has a great soundtrack. Let's do it. Let's play all that music. And it just felt like I don't know, it just felt so pure. It was just so nice to have the whole Sonic fan base on the same page for like once in all of history. So it was Twitter. Yeah, the Sonic Twitter community was actually at peace for at least like 2 hours, and it was beautiful.
Yeah. There was the only thing I missed was like there was no real symphonic representation of Sonic Heroes, which was kind of strange to me. It seemed a little strange to me that they would go with a Sonic 06 medley over a Sonic Heroes medley, but I mean, you kind of had to cut it off somewhere, so I get it. But at the same time, still a strange
omission.
A strange omission, yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah. And then I guess the last little kind of section of things I was wanted to talk about was just basically just like storytelling ideas and kind of opinions on the way stories are structured. And one of the ones I was thinking about more recently is I guess I don't know the technical term, but I guess it'd just be like plot-based stories, plot-based series versus episodic series, and how it seems like nowadays episodic series and episodic writing is kind of definitely falling out of favor. Every time I watch a show where maybe not much will happen other than a bunch of character stuff, I'm sitting there going like, this is great, we get to spend all this time with these characters, but then I'll find that a lot of people are like, yeah, but like, nothing moved forward, so like, it was fun, but disposable. And I'm like, but I'm here for the characters, what do you mean?
Yeah, I'm with you, actually. I kind of agree. I always loved more character-driven stuff, personally. I'm like, let's explore the characters. Let's see what they're like. Let's hang out with them. I mean, you don't have a good story without characters in my mind. So
yeah,
it's always been that balance. Mm-hmm. It's hard to find the balance.
Yeah, but I think that at least for me, generally, if I have to choose between a story spending all its time just kind of spending it with the characters and not just like doing nothing, but if it kind of allows certain aspects of their characters to shine or shows different dynamics, then to me that's time well spent, because what I always think of when I watch a show is or read a story is, would I rewatch it? I'm always thinking of the rewatch. And a lot of times I find when stories are very plot based and it's just like getting from one plot point to the next, it's like, yeah, but sure, from a moment to moment, it's enjoyable now because I don't know anything, right? So it has my attention, and it's a story. Like, the story's moving. But the stories I always go back to are the ones where it's just, I get to enjoy the characters because their characters are abstractions of people. And obviously, we enjoy being around people and things like that and getting to know, having human connections. And so to me, that's more impactful and enjoyable to experience than maybe something like, I don't know, rewatching Death Note and just knowing like, okay, this character's going to do this move and this character's going to do this move and this character's going to do this move. That's fun, but if I already know what's going to happen, then it kind of feels like, all right, I kind of just want to get to the episode where they eat cake and they get handcuffed, like stuff like that. So
yeah, I agree. It's more interesting to go back to when it's the characters are the main motivation, because you can then, you may get a little bit more out of it than you did before watching it again. On repeat watchings, you'll maybe, think about something about the character that you didn't think about the first time through, or, learn something or realize something, or something that
fun
you
to be around them
before,
again.
or yeah, exactly. Or they're just cool characters that you like.
Yeah,
So.
I guess from like maybe like a Sonic example, like what's fun about like a scene like guess what, Sonic Heroes, like the little the little exposition of the story of Sonic Heroes at the start, is that like the what's enjoyable about that isn't that, let's say this was a TV show, if someone reviewed it that week and they'd be like, wow, Eggman has created this 3-day plan or whatever. What's that mean? What's that about? But when you rewatch it, if you already, if it was a show and you already knew that, what's fun about that scene is like Sonic casually taking it and running backwards. The fact that they're just out in this desert area and that Sonic, and that the paper is animated for some reason. It's like a talking GIF.
Yeah.
like that's what's fun about that scene and what makes it enjoyable, not the fact that like it sets up the plot, so yeah, that's just always something that I think about.
Kyle's right in that you need to find the balance, And to use Mr. Waffles as example, like, let's pretend the Sonic Heroes intro, the Team Sonic intro, was an episode. More than 10 seconds, an actual arc. You have those character moments, like you said, Sonic running backwards, you have Knuckles being confident while Tails is being cautious, and you have the running plot line of, that isn't Eggman and the animated letter, that's Neo Metal baiting them into a trap, and you don't find that until later. And those are all great character moments. But the episode itself goes somewhere. It introduces the conflict. It introduces the stakes. The characters debate the course of action, even if it goes so far as, this sounds dangerous. Now we got it. And then they embark on their quest. Mm-hmm. So the course of the episode does accomplish something. Mm-hmm. Now, there are certainly times in a longer running series where you need some downtime. Mm-hmm. You need to establish some stuff. I'm not opposed to like an episode where characters kind of sit around the fire and reach a new status quo between each other. But even then, if it's a character-focused moment, there needs to be some kind of progression so that it's not just spinning your wheels. And getting to know the characters more is certainly a goal, but there needs to be something accomplished. There needs to be some kind of forward momentum, even if it's incremental. Like maybe two characters come to a new understanding between each other, or a friendship is suddenly tested because they sat down and they talked and we understand the characters more, but now they understand a new aspect of each other and maybe there's some friction there that can be followed up on later. That type of thing. The episode doesn't have to have a big crucial plot twist every single time. That's tedious. But there still needs to be the feeling of things are going somewhere. And I think that's where some folks come up with their, nothing happened. You can skip this episode. Mm-hmm. And more than once in something I've worked on, someone goes, oh, well, nothing happened in this issue. And it's like, you didn't read it, did you?
Right.
Sure, you processed the words, but you didn't actually read it. You don't see what's going on.
Or maybe it's a matter of like kind of like just what people consider as something happening. What they when they say that, what they really mean to express is like, oh, the thing I was interested didn't progress, or like this thing that I would have liked to see didn't happen. But in their head they boil it down to, it's like, well, I didn't get that feeling, so clearly nothing must have happened. Like you might see like one of the most fun things to watch in reactions for like shonen series is like there might be an episode where we're building to a fight, but let's say the fight doesn't have too much to do with the story in that episode. Like let's say it's a 2-parter or whatever, but there was a fight and that's what I came to the shonen for. So something happened, even if nothing actually happened as far as like a grand scale. That was more valuable to them because that's what they come here for, So you kind of have to balance audience expectations and the fact that people aren't writing essays on these things. They're just like, I felt this way. It was bad.
It's like, congratulations, you read TV tropes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well,
definitely.
Kind of building on that, it's like, yeah, there definitely does need to be, something. It's a story. You got to have a little bit of a story to tell. So, it makes complete sense to, want to have something happen. But I think even just having something happen, like just a building up a character arc or being able to gain more understanding of a character, I think that's, maybe it's just me, but I'm always kind of satisfied learning a bit more about somebody and, what their motivations are and, how they interact with other people. And, to me, that's pretty fulfilling too. So, but, I mean,
and of course it depends on the series too.
Sure. Yeah.
I was going to say, depending on your format, like with Sonic, we have 240 pages a year, roughly, to tell a story.
Gotta use it.
Yep.
You gotta
keep
go
things
fast.
moving. Gotta keep things moving, definitely for comics, especially.
There's a series that Aaliyah's reading right now, Yona of the Dawn, which is, it's not a shonen manga. What's a shoujo manga, I guess?
Shoujo, sure.
I don't know if it really counts as a shoujo manga given all the political intrigue and hyper-violence, but it is a war drama when you get down to it. And
yeah,
It's like, it's in a magazine with other, shoujo manga. It's like, oh, here are all the pretty boys and all the pretty girls and all the romance. And there's certainly a romance angle in Yona, but there's also a fair number of decapitations. So,
and then they kill each other with their pretty faces, and their pretty hands are stained with their pretty blood.
I mean, yeah, the 5 central dudes are very pretty, to be sure, but they can also, jump a mile in the air or cleave a man in twain with their giant dragon hand. It's a badass series. But because it's a bi-weekly manga, things are kind of decompressed because there's only so much you can produce of quality that fast, and you have to meet your deadline. So the story kind of moves incrementally, and they're in a kind of part in the story where things are building towards something. And if you've looked at the way that the series has progressed, it's building towards something. So when this week's installment is, 2 characters kind of coming to a resolution, you might think, oh, well, that's that then. But you have to look at it in the greater context, because it's like, okay, given what came before and given what they've now set up and put in the scope of the whole series, oh, crap, son, I know where this is going.
Yeah.
So,
and it feels rewarding as a reader to be able to track that and then get rewarded when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Well, and oh, sorry. Did you have anything else to add to that?
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh yeah. So I guess so we talked about Avatar earlier. Kyle and I. Have you seen the show, Ian? Avatar: The Last Airbender. I mean.
Yeah, I saw the Aang's adventures. I never followed Korra too much. Season 1 kind of soured me.
Okay, gotcha. Well, so with Avatar, something that I always enjoy about it, and what makes it so endlessly rewatchable, is that it is a show where all of season 1, and most of season 3 are just episodic stories, and the goal is get to place, and then deal. And so what I always enjoyed about it is that I think the premise of the series of it's an adventure series, so I think that the episodic stories only enhance the main plot, or it only enhances the story itself, because even if the plot isn't always moving, or maybe Aang's not learning a new element, the goal of the series is to save the world, right? So you want to become invested in said world, and because there are so many interesting possibilities as far as the audience expectations, the series manages to be like, okay, we're going to go to the North Pole in season 1. So given what the audience knows, which is more interesting to the audience based on what they've set up? Go to the North Pole, or explore this crazy world with combination animals and learn about all these different elements. I think the series, like you said, it kind of lends itself to allow itself to breathe and just explore itself, because it's not saying that when you get to the North Pole, Aang, your character arc can begin, and then the audience is sitting there going, well, I would like to get to that, please. They're just going like, okay, well, I guess we're just going on an adventure,
And going back to my earlier point, it's episodic to be sure, and it doesn't necessarily always bring them closer to the ultimate goal, but pretty much every episode, at least off the top of my head, does some kind of small step forward. Like they get to Kyoshi Island, we learn more about Kyoshi, and therefore we learn more about Aang, and Aang learns more about both himself and his principles. So that is forward momentum. Something happens.
Yes.
Or, anything with Zuko.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. sometimes they sort of especially the episode Avatar Day, where that episode literally is just a farce, it's a joke, and that's the point. But they have Zuko as the B plot going through this really serious drama so that something happened. It's the episode where it's they hate Avatar Kyoshi, and so they're just like, oil Aang and oil, and all this crazy stuff, and the town's a bunch of idiots. But then you have Zuko, and he's off stealing, and Iroh's giving speeches about depression and the meaning of life, and it's like, wait, what's going on here?
Oh, man, you got one of those moments where I wish I could just relive it again, was the finale to season 2, and that bit where Iroh and Azula are the angel and devil on Zuko's shoulder, and there's that one moment where his back is to you and it kind of hunches as he makes his decision, and they cut away and you're like, what did you decide? Yeah. Zuko, what you doing? What you doing? And then he shows up during the duel and you're like, what's he gonna do? Who he's going to side with. And then he looks at Aang, and Aang has that look of horror, and you're like, no, Zuko, why? Before he even does anything. God, that was good.
Yeah. And then we cut to the bear. And somehow it still worked.
Somehow. Magically, yeah. Oh man, I forgot about... How could I forget about her? Azula. It's just like, oh man, such a... Just a monstrous villain. But so good. Like, I don't know, she's just...
Maybe you should worry less about the tides killing you and more about me, who's still mulling it over.
Yeah, she's just so she's just so fascinating and just so freaking evil, but also so freaking just... I don't know, there's something about her. It's like, wow, you're like a monster, but also you're really cool.
One of the most threatening exchanges. Why did you do it? You're going to have to be more specific. Like,
Yeah. It's like, wow, she is a fantastic villain. Holy crap.
And I like that even in like her lesser lines, her voice actress does such a good job at selling it, where Azula legitimately says, "It's tea time," and I'm shaking in my boots.
Oh man.
Which is such a silly line for like your evil villain to pop in and be like, "Ooh, I'm gonna get you," but I'm like, "Oh no, they're dead." Run.
Grey Delisle really just like embodies the character. It's clear that she just loves playing Azula.
Isn't it obvious?
So great.
I'm celebrating becoming an only child.
So great. She's fantastic.
Really good.
Oh man.
I guess if I want to go back to the Sonic comics just for a moment. So Mr. Flynn, you've mentioned on numerous occasions that the Sonic Genesis storyline was kind of just thrust upon you in the middle of that arc. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you definitely, I think you've mentioned, like, if there was a certain part of the story that I would just, like, cut out because I don't really want it, it's that. And I actually want to defend it from you, Mr. Writer of the story.
You wouldn't be the first, and you won't be the last, but go ahead.
There we go. No worries. Yeah. I don't know, that's just something I thought of. I really enjoy it just simply because I think what it does is it allows for the Sally sacrifice to not feel... mean-spirited, if that makes sense, because we had just gotten them back together, and then if immediately after that, obviously for the conflict and to kind of raise the stakes, especially with how much the fandom had been waiting for them to get back together, I feel like a lot of people would have taken it worse if it was she immediately gets roboticized after their little date, because then it would have been like, oh my gosh, it's ripped away from us again, what is going on? And I'm not a shipper. Like, Sonic can be with whoever he wants as long as it's written well. But what I really appreciate about the Genesis story is that it allowed the story to just basically, like, kind of in a way be like a little filler arc where there's no politics, there's no romantic drama, there's no character baggage or everybody fighting. It's just, hey, we're back. It's back in the simple days, and the reasons we like each other are just simple things, like Sonic and Sally. They're just like, oh, that guy's cute. Like, they just have like simple reasons to like each other and simple motives to want to help each other, and they have a fun dynamic. And it's got the whole cheesy power of friendship thing where they're just like, Antoine's not dead, I feel it in my soul, and I'm like, oh, that's the kind of cheesy stuff I love. And I think that's what was really valuable to me about it, was it allowed for. You have all these crazy things that you'd been building up, and it just felt like we had this nice little break where everything is okay, everything's simple and easy, and the reasons we like these characters are allowed to be at the forefront without the story not getting in the way, but just being a factor. You don't have to worry about it because you have the deadline of making 4 issues out of this thing. And so when it does come back and she makes the sacrifice of instead of being shot in the face, being roboticized. I feel like it feels earned. So while I know you definitely didn't see much value in it, I think you actually made it work really well. So I'm very happy about it.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed. And again, I've been told more than once that it's people's favorite arc.
Mm-hmm.
And I really need to stop following that with, man, I hated writing it, because there's always that degree of disappointment. It's like, oh, wait, I can't like it anymore. It's like, no. Don't. I know all the warts and all behind it, all the stuff that I didn't like.
Yeah, of course.
There's a particular point you mentioned that you enjoyed, and like, oh yeah, I remember why this happened. And I'm not going to go into detail because I don't want to spoil it for you, because you found something pure and enjoyable in it, and I don't want to be the curmudgeon that I don't want to be the dark cloud to your silver lining. So,
oh no worries.
If you enjoyed Genesis, you or anyone listening, I'm very glad you did. And
I very much enjoyed Genesis personally, just as a classic Sonic fan, and getting. I mean,
the frustration on my end,
getting that kind of throwback sort of thing when that was much less common at the time than it is now. We didn't really have a whole established classic Sonic universe to play in at that time. So that was something new, and something that I really personally just enjoyed was seeing, like, okay, let's go. But if we go back and we take sort of the character elements and the and some of the story bits of the TV show and of the early comics, and maybe combine them together with the early games, and explore that a little bit. I really like that personally, but that was I know frustration. I know there's a lot of it, but just being forced upon you and stuff. I get your frustration with it for sure.
No. It's more that I phoned it in, and that's what everyone seems to like.
Oh,
but isn't that literally always the case, that the thing you try the least hard, everyone's like, that's the funniest thing you've ever, or that's the coolest thing you've ever done. And I get you. My most popular video that basically within a year that it took to get my first video that I worked so hard on, this other video that I literally wrote in like a couple hours as a joke video got the same amount of views in like 4 months. And I'm like, well, there you go. My fate is set. I guess I have to just feed this audience.
I mean, the Champions arc is still my absolute favorite, and I love it, Ian. So
Champions so good.
If you're thinking I like just Genesis is the best and number one forever, no, not really. Champions is well up there. Yes. So yes, I
am appeased. My ego, bruised as it is, now has an ice pack on it.
Okay, good.
Well,
okay, good.
As your evil doppelganger, I must say that Iron Dominion is my favorite, and since that was literally a joke by you, I guess we're back in the mud.
Yeah, but you really made Iron Dominion work.
Yeah, you seemed to care once you realized he let you do it.
Iron Dominion is weird because the general feedback I've gotten, by and large, has just been kind of ambivalent.
Really?
Nobody hated it. It was fine, but it was like nobody's real favorite. And I'm glad you really liked it. And I think we did some good stuff with it. And it was different at the very least. And I think it's a perfectly fine, serviceable story. It's kind of one of these weird bumps in the road when it came to the continuity, and that's saying something. And
you're like, oh, I did do that.
Yeah, I kind of keep forgetting that it was part of it. It's like, oh yeah, that happened. And it's like, it's fine. It's not one that lives in infamy. It's not one that's put on a pedestal. It's kind of, yep, that was a thing. That was weird, but it was
part of the story. Yeah.
Yep.
I really, I think probably my favorite character besides Sonic was always Eggman, because he lives in this, like, the way you write him is in this, I don't know what the actual term would be called, but I call them deliciously evil, where they're just they smack their lips. They love the fact that they're evil. Oh, every day's a joy. Oh, the fact that your whole family is being threatened. Oh, just tell me more. Like that. That's how Dr. Eggman always was. But my favorite thing that you did, and this is how I always describe it to people, just because it's just how I interpret it, and I'll take it, which is that basically he realized that he's in a comic, and that Sonic is the main character, aka the Chaos Factor, and that he can't be beaten. So he's like, so I'll just destroy everyone but Sonic. Because that's kind of the way he describes it, is like, oh, I get it. Sonic is the Chaos Factor. You can't do anything to him, which is writer speak in my head for like, he can't win. He's the main character.
You picked up on it exactly. It was very meta.
Which I just love.
You're
that.
dead on. You're dead on.
It was great. Yeah.
And I liked that you applied that. I like that you. I don't know if you set it up, quote unquote, but you use that same logic with Mammoth Mogul, where he's like, literally every arc I've ever been in, I've turned into a god, and then you win. I quit.
when I was rationalizing it, it was like, oh shoot, I've just done the mogul thing again. How do I put a twist on it so it feels more Eggman-y? And
that he has a theory behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, he quantifies it. He rationalizes it. Whereas Mogul is more of a petulant, you're mean, so I'm just going to sit back here and wait till you die.
Well, and speaking of petulant child, if I don't have too much time, then this will be the one to end off, which is my boy Scourge. I love that little whiner. I think that the father and son story is one of, like, just the coolest little stories in the Archie Sonic comic, because it just, and I think I even asked this question once where I was like, who decided to make him cry? What did this image mean? And you're like, I think you responded like, dude, John Gray just kind of did whatever he wanted. I don't even think I wrote that he cried in the script. Like, it's like this great little moment of like, whose story is this? What am I supposed to get from Scourge? And therefore, like, there's just so many different layers you get from him, because, like, he can, you can have, like, Jules saying, like, oh, do you want that on your head forever? And you might take that as, like, oh, is he, threatening that, like, oh, you're gonna have to fight Sonic, and that, that'll scare you? Or is he kind of appealing to his humanity, because he cries after that, and he's like, you don't know what you're talking about, old man. It's like, oh man, it's like, what does this mean for his character? And it was just so fun. I love the concept of the Sonic recolor who hates the fact that he's a Sonic recolor, and so he's like, no, you don't understand. I'm Scourge. I'm me. I'm my own guy. Please, I'll kill you. And just the fact that the way Sonic has to beat him is play into his ego. And it's just great. Like, I love Scourge, and every time I've introduced the series to someone, Scourge becomes like one of their favorite characters. So I'm just so happy he exists.
He got a surprising amount of mileage. Like, the concept was dreamed up by Mike Pellerito, the editor at the time. He was like, let's make Evil Sonic actually a character that someone could care about. An actual threat, something that's cool. And
groundbreaking.
It only took us how many hundreds of issues? And then Patrick Spaziante did the design.
Ooh, yeah.
And so I was given the premise and I was given the design. I'm like, oh man, he looks badass. Mm-hmm. And it was my job to make it work, make it make sense. Here are the elements, bake the cake. And that's how I got started. And the more I worked with Scourge and the more that we defined him and, became this kind of counter reflection character study of Sonic by proxy, it's like, wow, you can go far with this. And it's kind of like the topic we touched on earlier about Sonic having that
dark side,
that dark side and that fragile ego.
Yeah.
And the reason why he was able to overcome it or work past it or apologize for it or grow from it was because he was a good person deep down. He had enough maturity to recognize his mistakes or that he went too far and make up for it. And Scourge, being the anti-Sonic, does not. He has the character flaw of he is basically fragile masculinity in physical form.
Yeah.
So that scene in particular, we mentioned when Jules more or less stands up to him, was Scourge running off because he actually had to face his morality? Or did he run off because he was confronted and he chickened out and he realized he chickened out and he can't face himself? I know what I intended, but you can read it a few ways. And I think that's why people love Scourge so much, is that you can read him a number of ways. And if you really don't want to read him at all, you just want to laugh at the fact that he's a mean Sonic recolor, hey, that works too.
Because he gets beat and humiliated every time. So it feels satisfying. I'm guessing I'm running out of time. I really don't have too much else to talk about. So I guess if we wanted to wrap up here, that's totally fine.
Sure. Is there anything that you want to plug? Any shout-outs you want to make before we wrap it up?
Let's see. No, I think as far as just plugging my own channel, once again, it's IanWaffles. Do anime content on there. Look forward to a Kingdom Hearts review or analysis video. And no, I'm just super happy that I got to be on here. You guys were a ton of fun. And just thanks for having me.
And thank you for your support and for joining us. And if you want to be as cool as IanWaffles, you can join the show too. Just send us $100 US, either via Patreon or Coffee, or email us directly. If you don't want to do that, we can figure something out. And you too can join the BumbleKast.
Awesome.
Indeed.
That's gonna be it. That's all we got, I think. So
Yep.
So be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we'll see you next time on the BumbleKast. I think.
Bye.
Maybe we'll see you next time. I don't know. Who knows what'll happen? We'll see you next time.
Wait,
and that's
it's
it.
not his speed. He's using the waffles to warp.
Oh no, I didn't practice my lines. Ah!
That's okay. I stole your role anyway at this point.
Oh, it's okay. No, that was a ton of fun, guys. That was great.
Yeah, great.
Likewise.
Great to talk to you. Yeah.
Oh, for a second there, I thought we dropped. It's like, oh no, I'm alone.
No. We're good. It's just it just gets real quiet when I don't know. Discord's like, yeah, there's no sound, so I'm just gonna shut off all sound now forever.
It was holding its breath. It was so invested in the Scourge conversation.
That might be it. That might be it.
All right. Well, I see. Ian, Mr. Flynn is off the grid, which is fine. But yeah,
I think he is. He may just be muted because to keep noise from leaking through. Ian, are you there?
Oh, no, I mean, it's no problem. But I just noticed
I muted it because I needed to adjust the mic stand, and I didn't unmute because I'm an idiot.
Oh, okay.
So you're like, why is he talking over me?
Yeah, I'm like, wait, why is Ian? Yeah, where's Ian? I'm like, okay, I can keep the discussion going. That's fine. But like, where's Ian at?
I was going to, as I was saying, apparently to the cat.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Finally get to go up against my arch nemesis, Ian Flynn.
Yes, you got to. We got Ian versus Ian here. This is gonna be. It's gonna be exciting.
It'll be exciting.
Yep. But who will win in the world of delicious waffles versus whatever a Flynn is?
Thought you were going to be like a delicious Flynn. Wait, take it back. I don't know what I'm saying.
I don't know. I have no clue.
Mulligan. Restart the podcast. No.
You've been listening to the BumbleKast, a co-production of Bumble King Comics and the KNGI Network. Original theme music composed by Ken Coda Snyder. Remixed intro by T-Lopes. Find out more information, along with podcast feeder links, MP3 downloads, and more at bumbleking.com and kngi.org.
And then you can see my icon is Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's Momo burying Sokka in the sand for his transgressions. So,
oh man, I do love Avatar.
Oh, perfect.
The
well,
Avatar
if at any
world.
point in this we just run out of stuff to talk about and we got to fill 5 minutes or even the rest of time, I can talk about Avatar. So we'll be good.
Yeah, Avatar is fantastic.
Yeah, it's my favorite piece of entertainment.
Oh, great!
So
it's definitely up there for me too. I quite enjoyed both the original series and Korra. So
well, and I definitely have a strong connection to it because obviously I was a child at the time when it came out. I was there like the day it premiered, and I remember my mom being like, "This is weird. Why are they shirtless?" Like. Like because obviously it is just so different from like a lot of the shows on, and you have Aang like in episode 3, he like takes off all his clothes and jumps in the water and all that stuff. She's like, "What's happening? Why do they look weird? They don't look like cartoons."
I don't know. I think I don't know. That's just something different. It was something. It was something different, I think, and it was also a nice breath of fresh air and a really good bit of animated storytelling during a time when storytelling in animation just wasn't great.
Well, And I think the insane thing about it to me is that obviously a lot of people love to talk about the characters, the story, and all those things. But I think the thing that, like, as far as just like, this is, for entertainment, you want to sit back, you just want to relax and have fun. And there's a fight scene in, like, almost every episode, like a fully choreographed fight scene.
Right.
And they don't have like super moves in the series where it's like, oh, he's going to use the Kamehameha to finish the job. Like, they're all new,
Mm-hmm.
So every fight is unique and dynamic, and you have non-benders, you have the different elements, you have different subsets of elements. And so for me, like, what makes Avatar so rewatchable, along with just the fact that it's episodic stories, so even if you don't want to get involved in like a long form thing, you can just watch a short little episode, you get your little fix, and you leave. But I just love that every episode there's something really fun to watch, like a cool, like, Jackie Chan martial arts fight. So
yeah, the choreography of that show is fantastic. They definitely did a lot of research and really just putting that show together. It just looks amazing and it just flows so well.
Yeah.
Do
you have any favorite characters or episodes or something like that? Sorry, I'm just making this an interview about Avatar now. But
that's cool. No worries. Let's see. Jeez. I mean, I know from Korra, I freaking loved Asami. She was a pretty great character. There was a lot of exploration of her character that I think was really well done.
Yeah. No, she was. Yeah, go ahead.
From the original series, Toph is definitely my personal favorite. She's just like, she's just so much fun. But she also kind of has a little bit of a tragic history, so that kind of informs her character, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, what I like about Toph specifically is just simply that she's like Iroh in the sense that they're designed to, like, kind of already be past their arcs, if that makes sense. Like, right. She already got past any sort of insecurity about not being who she is, and she knows who she is. And so the kind of fun part about her is she gets to kind of, like, come in as literally like this brick wall, like this rock that just kind of shakes the foundation of all the other characters who are going through their stories. And so it's kind of fun that even though she doesn't necessarily get too much of an arc outside of learning to kind of play nice with Katara, and become a team player.
Right.
She's just so enjoyable, and the series somehow was able to make blind jokes at her expense tasteful, and like because you know that she's like the most powerful person ever. So when it's something like that, like for example, she kicks Aang up into the tree, and it's like, haha, I got revenge. And it's like, you just saw her take out 50 guys. Well, then they drop the belt on her because she's being cocky and trying to catch it. So it's kind of funny when he bonks her on the head,
Right, you're right.
And so I don't know, it just never came off as mean-spirited, which I think was what really worked. And of course, her character is inherently it's a contradiction, right? As far as like just like the visual, like it's this tiny little girl, but she can shake the world literally and take down all these buff guys.
Yeah.
So she already has all that going for her, and it's great.
Yeah, I definitely love that aspect of it. There's that one moment, the one moment where she like. They're flying over to the desert.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, I know. As soon as I said that, I knew you were gonna know. And then she points out into it, and she's like, "Over there." And then everyone's like, "I don't see anything." And she just looks at her and waves her hand in front of her eyes.
She goes, "That's what it'll sound like when one of you spots it."
Yep. Yes. Yep.
Pretty great. And I like the joke. I like the joke in The Runaway, where everyone's constantly getting on her case about this wanted poster. And the first time she's like, they're like, "What's this?" And she's like, "Well, it sounds like a piece of paper, but I'm guessing you're referring to what's on the sheet of paper." And then the second time it happens, Katara comes up and is like, "What's this?" And she goes, "I don't know. What is with you people? I'm blind."
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then when they did that little play in season 3, and her character in the play is played by a big buff dude. And she's like, "This is perfect.
The greatest thing of my life."
And she loves it. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's like that's just what makes Toph so good. Is she is so confident in herself, and then when you have little moments where, like the Tales of Ba Sing Se, where she kind of does get down on herself, it feels rewarding because Katara, the one she was fighting with before, is the one to kind of bring her back up, and it feels right. You know, it's not like she has an arc or anything, but she has these little moments of nuance that show that she's not just like a flat character,
right?
If that makes sense.
Yep, for sure.
And then as far as
go
ahead. Oh, okay. I was gonna say, as far as Asami, definitely really what I enjoy about her is that obviously she was a character who wasn't intended to join the series. Like, she was supposed to just kind of be a villain, but they really liked her design and her character so much that they kept her.
Right.
And I just really like the idea that they always tried to kind of find ways for her to be relevant in a way that was connected to a different character. And then by the end of it, now that she had already impacted all those different characters like Bolin in season 2, or Korra in season 3 and season 4, or Mako, by the time we get to the finale or the final season, she's finally kind of doing something for herself and getting closure with her dad, and that kind of makes her really sympathetic.
Right, yeah. And I've always been kind of fascinated by characters like that who are just like, they come from a family where their family history is kind of set in like less than savory terms, or kind of evil, but it's but then they work to overcome that and become their own person. And
how do they rise above it or shape it into something valuable if they still find value in its name?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, it's great. Yeah. Now we just got to wait for the live action show, and we'll have a perfect trifecta, obviously.
Well, the last live action thing they did wasn't so hot, so I'm kind of wondering.
Oh yeah, especially since the creators left it because they were like, "This is going to be bad." It's like, I wonder if it's going to be bad.
Yeah, and it's bad.
Honestly, I would be okay with them. Like, what I would want from a live action Avatar is, because you can't recreate the character animation, obviously. It would look silly, for real people to do that, unless you had something like Edgar Wright doing it, where it's like supposed to be wacky and like the editing kind of allows for it.
Sure.
So the characters won't be allowed to be crazy over the top in the ways they were in the cartoon, and so therefore you kind of either have to make them witty or downplay the humor. So to me, what I would just want is just take because this is what I love about I'm sure you know about the difference between Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, right?
Kind of.
Where basically they're two different interpretations of the same story.
Right. Okay. Ian explained that.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's no problem. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I would like for the live action show is just do that. Like, take the premise of the show and you have to say this. Like, you have to go on Twitter and your social media and say, like, hey, this is a complete reinterpretation of the series because we do not think we could recreate the original. Say that, you'll get brownie points. And then you just say, hey, we wanted to explore more of these characters and these concepts and take them in different directions that you've never seen before. Look forward to it. And I would be excited for that,
Yeah, just do something a little bit different. Turn things on their head a little bit. I like that.
Yeah, because you're never going to capture that audience again, so you might as well try to make something new out of it. It's what comic books do all the time, and what people love about them, which is that you can have so many different interpretations of the same characters, and so many people can love those different versions,
Mm-hmm. It seems like that's kind of also what the Final Fantasy VII remake is doing too.
Yes.
Seems to be like the first episode seems like it's mostly been just a retelling of the Midgar section of the game, but then things are different. Things slowly start to unravel throughout the course of it, and then by the end, you're like, okay, what direction is this going? where, what's happening? What's going to happen? Wow. So it's like it's a good way to kind of add a bit of intrigue and make it more interesting than just, oh, here's the game you already know and love. It just looks better. It just looks prettier now. That's it.
It looks prettier, and since it's not made by the same team, it's probably going to have those little nitpicks that diehard fans will catch, and then they'll complain about it, and then therefore we can't please anybody.
Exactly.
So don't try.
Yeah, pretty much. So just make it something different. So I can definitely appreciate that, and I kind of agree with you and hope that's what they do with a live action Avatar series.
Yeah, there's no need to box yourself in, especially when nobody was asking for it as far as like to fix something, you know? Like
Right.
nobody like the only thing people generally agree like could be fixed in Avatar is like set up the lion turtle and like maybe pace out the romance with Aang a bit better. That's about it. Like no one really has like and cut the Great Divide or whatever, but you know. But it's like as far as like structural problems, you know. Most
Sure.
people are we're good with Avatar. It's a classic for a reason.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. Yep. I mean, everything's got its own issues and problems. Little things you can go back and say maybe weren't as great as you thought they were, or maybe they didn't pan out quite the way you were hoping, and then it's a good chance to revisit things and tweak them and try something new.
Yeah, because people are smart enough to sense like insincerity.
Right.
And if all you're doing is just trying to be like, look guys, it's the shot from the show. Look guys, they said the line. That people are gonna smell that a mile away, and then what you're not gonna get is, oh wow, that was a very great callback. That was so genuine to the series. They're gonna be like, all right, let's compare the two, and you're gonna get YouTube compilations of who did it better.
Yeah, and it's always going to be the cartoon version.
Yeah, it's always going to be the part that everyone is biased towards.
Yep.
So what you should do is just change it, make it its own thing, and then be honest about that. Don't advertise it as something else. Change the title.
Yeah.
They could make it Avatar: The Last Airbender ? There you go. That's the difference.
I think though, even for between both Korra and the original series was like, I'd say that even like bad episodes of those were still pretty good overall.
Oh yeah.
There's just that level. It's just that level of quality, I think, where it's like, okay, even something that's bad, you can still look at it and be like, I've seen worse.
or like I think as you kind of get older, you come to like, as far as like you get older in relative to the things you like you've gotten years against it. It's like, am I actually going to like complain about the Great Divide? Like, who cares? Like, know, or like if I watch it, like, is it really like whatever flaws it had going to get under my skin? Probably not. Like, I'm a big boy. I can accept that the two tribes are kind of annoying and still have fun. Like, it's that kind of thing. Like, once you, like, to me, it's one of those things where, like, if someone came to me and was like, oh, we're gonna redo Avatar, it's all the same, but we cut out the Great Divide. I'm like, you can't cut the Great Divide. It's a part of the show, scars and all.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So
it's
thematic.
Yeah, I never saw Avatar until a few years actually after it started airing. I think it was pretty much ended, if not ended, by the time I saw it. So
around like the early 2010s, because it ended in 2008. So
right, I think it was probably about 2009, 2010 when I finally watched it.
Yeah,
so it was a little bit later.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I was there for all of it, and it was a crazy ride. There was a part of it where there was a point in time where they released certain episodes early in Canada, and so I would go on this like Tumblr forum that would like link me to like a Canadian website where I could watch The Boiling Rock, and so it felt cool, like I was a secret hacker trying to like see things before everyone else. But then the craziest thing that happened was that they released Avatar Season 3 Volume 3 before the episodes that were on it came out on TV.
Yeah, Nickelodeon they've had a long history of being so weird.
Yeah.
Because I remember issues with Korra, because I was there.
You remember the Spanish leaks?
Yeah, and I was there with the I was there at the start of Korra, and I remember like the air dates were all weird, and then like season 3 like immediately dropped after season 4. Like they were just looking to dump it all out there and get rid of it, which was like just so frustrating.
Yeah, or like they legitimately went on Twitter or Tumblr, and they were like, if this because it was going to be like because the finale to season 2 is like, it's not really a 4-parter, but like it all like flows together really well. And they were like, these last 2 episodes or the 2 episodes before the finale are going to come out tonight. And they just went on Tumblr and they were like, hey guys, if this gets 5,000 likes, easy to do. If this gets 5,000 likes, we're just going to drop all 4 episodes. No even big deal. Like, whatever, just get it out of here. We already paid for these episodes. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was, yeah. So it's,
glad you care.
Yeah. And
now they care.
Cartoon, yeah, definitely. Cartoon Network kind of does the same thing, though. I've noticed it seems to be like,
so strange.
Like the channels that are more driven towards kids, that have more kids programming, their schedules seem to be like
strange.
Not schedules. Like they just do whatever they want whenever they want. Like, the weird breaks between DuckTales episodes on Disney was like, what are they doing? Why is there a huge many months long break between, like they'll drop like 6 episodes in a row and then there'll be a break for 3, 4, 5 months, and then so what was that?
Oh, they did that with the Gravity Falls finale, where it was a 3-parter, and they were like, part 1, now you gotta wait 3 months. Part 2, now you gotta wait 3 months.
Oh, that's even worse. Wow.
And like Alex Hirsch was like they were begging me pretty much till the very end to make a season 3, and I said no. And so the theory, like, obviously it's just fan theory, but the theory is like they just wanted as much time to try to convince him to like renew it, like because think about that from like a marketing perspective. If you're like, dude, look at all the numbers, like the series is doing so well, you sure you don't want to make a season 3? You're like,
yeah, that's very strange. The way they do things, I guess they just think their kids won't care. Kids won't care, or they won't remember, or something, or maybe they just have so much programming they're trying to find spots to fill it, so they have months long gaps. And
I don't know. That
so
doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah. I mean, I get you're just spitballing, but yeah, it's like I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember there was an interview with Mike and Brian, and they were talking about how like on Nicktoons they would be playing episodes of Avatar, and they wouldn't release them in order. Like they were just random episodes. And obviously with Avatar, especially season 2, it's very story driven, so you have to, one episode after the other. And they came to him, I guess, and they were like, hey, the show's not doing so well. Do you have any suggestions? And he's like, here's a suggestion. Why don't you play the episodes in order? And then they did that and they got more views because people could, and he was like, wow, what do you know?
Yeah. And then they dropped them on Netflix and they shot up like, apparently
they were like, what?
Yeah, they were like, oh, this show is popular. It's like, yes, you didn't know that?
Yeah, you didn't know that they literally created for you a Star Wars level universe in terms of potential?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they just handed that to you and you were like, I'm good, bro.
Yeah, they're like, nah, we don't need it. Just shove it out there. Who cares? No one watches. No one who cares watches this show.
Yeah, it's not like the season finale of Avatar was like, I don't know, it was like 6.9 million or something like that. It was something crazy, like broke records on their thing. I'll look it up. It was crazy.
Wow.
I see. But yeah, and I was there for that too. That was really fun. Sozin's comment. But the best part was like, I was going on vacation at the time, and so I went over to my neighbor and like I gave him a VHS tape, and I was like, Avatar comes on at this time. I need you to record this so I don't miss it. Because obviously, like, this is before like DVR or streaming, to where I could just like, I'd just be like, oh, I'll just get to it when I get back. It's like I could miss it forever potentially, as far as my kid brain was concerned.
Yeah.
It was 5.6 million viewers for Sozin's comment.
Oh wow.
So
that's insane.
It says it made 195% more viewers than Nickelodeon had received in mid-July. I was like, that's up.
Yeah, wow. Okay. And they didn't capitalize on that.
They were like, meh, ship it out.
Yeah.